Those were probably two other like really cool moments of this season. Yeah. Obviously, the beginning of it with Taylor is one I'll remember forever. So
this podcast has done a lot for me. I owe a lot to this podcast. This podcast got me a boyfriend.
Now, how in the world am I going to get her to meet him or whatever?
Shout out to Taylor for pulling up. That was pretty ballsy.
Being mesmerized, and swept off my feet by a woman who doesn't even know me.
I wish I could go support Taylor at the Grammys and watch her win every single award that she's nominated for.
Travis Kelce did not just get lucky when he ended up with Taylor Swift. He built the whole thing, one bold, slightly embarrassing move at a time, and now that they are married, it is worth going back to the very beginning to see exactly how a tight end from the Kansas City Chiefs managed to win over the single biggest pop star on the planet. Because the story is not some fairy tale accident, it is a genuine step-by-step campaign, and honestly, it is one of the most charming underdog stories in celebrity history. Step 1 was the failed first attempt, and it is somehow the most important part of the entire story. In July of 2023, Travis attended one of Taylor's Eras tour shows at Arrowhead Stadium, and he had a plan. Fans had been trading friendship bracelets at every stop of the tour, so Travis made his own, one with his phone number on it, hoping to hand it directly to her. It never happened. Taylor does not meet fans before or after her shows because she has to protect her voice for the 44 songs she performs each night, and Travis simply never got the chance. Most people would have let that story die quietly. Travis did the opposite. He went on his own podcast, New Heights, and openly admitted how disappointed and butthurt he was that he did not get to meet her. That single, honest, slightly vulnerable confession is the entire reason this story exists at all.
So I was a little butthurt I didn't get to hand her one of the bracelets I made for her.
You made her a bracelet?
Yeah. If you're up on Taylor Swift concerts, there are friendship bracelets, and I received a bunch of them being there, but I wanted to give Taylor Swift one with my number on it. Not right now.
Your number's in 87 or your phone number?
You know which one.
Step 2 was letting the whole world know about it. Because that podcast episode did not just vanish into the internet. It reached Taylor herself. In her own words, later shared publicly, she explained that everything started because Travis very adorably put her on blast on his podcast. And she thought it was metal as hell.
This podcast has done a lot for me. I owe a lot to this podcast. This podcast got me a boyfriend ever since Travis decided to use it as his personal dating app about 2 years ago.
Her own mother, Andrea, later revealed the real behind-the-scenes detail. She had seen headlines about the bracelet story, called up her cousin who happened to be a diehard Chiefs fan, and asked for the full report on this guy named Travis Kelce. The verdict came back immediately. He is the nicest guy. That is the moment the machine really started turning. A mother quietly playing matchmaker after her daughter's would-be suitor made his crush public in the most unconventional way possible.
I'm looking at the headlines of perusing around what's on the internet, and I see that this guy came to your show. And so, of course, I call up my resident expert on Kansas City Chiefs, my cousin Robin, and I go, tell me about this guy named Travis Kelce. And she goes, oh my God, he's the nicest guy. And you know what? He really loves his mom. I went, ding, 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 ding. And I said, now how in the world am I going to get her to meet him or whatever?
Step 3 was making sure the door stayed open. Once the story was out there and the interest was mutual, Travis did not sit back and wait. He extended an invitation asking Taylor to come watch him in the Chiefs play.
It's hilarious how much traction this has actually got. I mean, it's life, baby. It's life. I threw it out there. I threw the ball in her court. And, I told her, maybe I've seen you rock the stage in Arrowhead. You might have to come see me rock the stage in Arrowhead and see which one's a little more lit. So we'll see what happens in the near future.
And notably, Patrick Mahomes, his own quarterback and closest friend, later claimed some credit for the whole thing, saying Travis was reportedly sitting in his suite when the bracelet idea first came up, joking that made him the real matchmaker of the story.
I like to take some of the credit. I was the one who invited Travis to the first Taylor concert when the friendship bracelet he was sitting in my suite, so I feel like I was the matchmaker.
When Taylor actually showed up to that game in September of 2023, sitting beside Travis's mother, Donna Kelce, Travis made sure to acknowledge it publicly right away. Shout out to Taylor for pulling up. he said.
Shout out to Taylor for pulling up. That was pretty ballsy. Yeah. I just thought it was awesome how everybody in the suite had nothing but great things to say about her. You know, the friends and family. She looked amazing. Everybody was talking about her in great light.
It was a small line, but it confirmed to the entire world that this was not some tabloid rumor. Something real was happening. Step 4 was showing up for her, consistently, in a way that could not be faked. Because once the relationship became public, Travis made a habit of flying to Eras Tour stops around the world whenever his schedule allowed. He was there in Sydney, where the two of them fed kangaroos and walked around the zoo before her show. He was there at Coachella, dancing alongside her to Ice Spice and the Bleachers, and he became such a familiar presence in the crowd at her shows that fans started keeping track of exactly how many stops he made it to. Taylor herself described exactly why this mattered so much during a major year-end interview, looking back on 2023. When you say a relationship is public, she explained, that means I'm going to see him do what he loves. We're showing up for each other and other people are there and we don't care. The opposite of that, she said, would require an extreme amount of effort to make sure no one knew they were seeing each other. In other words, Travis winning her over was not just about grand romantic gestures. It was about consistently, visibly choosing to be present over and over in city after city, long after the initial excitement of a new relationship would have normally worn off. Step 5 was proving he actually respected what she had built, not just that he liked being seen with her. Ahead of the 2025 Super Bowl, Travis sat in front of reporters and, unprompted, launched into genuine admiration for Taylor's work ethic on the Eras Tour, describing how grueling it must have been to travel country to country and calling the entire production an absolute machine. He said it was something he could admire watching and take notes from.
What I saw on that tour last year was pretty remarkable. I mean, to see the week in, week out, traveling from one country to the next, and, you know, how excruciating it is on her body and on her mind. And it's not just her, it was her entire, like, tour. It was the dancers, it was the band, the singers, it was everybody involved, and it was an absolute machine. And it was something I could admire watching and take a lot of notes from.
That is a completely different kind of compliment than simply calling someone talented. That is one elite performer studying another elite performer's craft and openly admitting he has something to learn from her. He even reportedly told reporters around that same stretch that he wished he could be at the Grammys watching her win every award she was nominated for, a small, wistful admission squeezed in between his own preparations for the biggest game of his career. It is the kind of respect that turns attraction into something built to last. Step 6 was the quiet, private gestures that had nothing to do with cameras at all. When Taylor's tour finally wrapped after nearly 2 years and 149 shows, Travis wrote her a letter, one so personal that she chose to read it aloud in her own documentary. In it, he told her that his favorite memory from the entire tour was seeing her perform live for the very first time, describing himself as mesmerized and swept off his feet by a woman who did not even know him at that point. He thanked her tour manager for routing the tour through Kansas City in the first place, the stop that started it all. Taylor, reading his words to the world, added her own reflection, calling that night in Kansas City the beginning of meeting the love of her life. It is worth pausing on just how unusual that is.
So many unbelievable memories on this tour, but my favorite one is seeing you in concert for the first time, being mesmerized and swept off my feet by a woman who doesn't even know me. I selfishly say thank you for creating this legendary tour and to Robert for making you stop through Kansas City, Missouri. That night, too, in KC was the beginning of me meeting the love of my life.
Most celebrity couples keep their most intimate correspondence completely private, if it exists at all in any shareable form. Travis wrote something so vulnerable that his own girlfriend later felt compelled to let millions of strangers hear it, because it captured something true about how their story began. Step 7 was standing beside her during her biggest professional honors, not just her biggest tour stops. When Taylor was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in June, one of the youngest people ever to receive that honor, Travis was there in the crowd, right alongside her own parents, cheering her on. And when she finally agreed to appear on his own podcast in August, sharing details about her new album and their relationship for the very first time in that format, the episode became one of the most watched podcast episodes of the entire year, a moment Travis and his brother Jason still talk about as untouchable months later. And step 8, the final one, was the one nobody knew about until after it happened. Because on a recent episode of that very podcast, recorded before the wedding but released after it, Travis finally admitted the secret he had been carrying that entire August day. While Taylor sat across from him discussing her new album on his show, he was already planning in real time the exact moment he was going to ask her to marry him. He called it one of the coolest moments of his life, one he will remember forever.
During that recording, the entire time I'm planning like I'm gonna ask this woman to marry me after this. So yeah, those were probably two other like really cool moments of this season. Obviously the beginning of it with Taylor is one I'll remember forever. So
every step before that, the bracelet, the shout-outs, the flights across the world, the letter, the admiration for her work ethic, all of it had been building toward a decision he had already quietly made. So here's the bottom line. It started with a failed friendship bracelet and an honest confession of embarrassment. It grew through public invitations, consistent appearances at her shows, and genuine hard-earned respect for her work ethic. It deepened through a private letter about being swept off his feet, and it was honored publicly at her biggest career milestones, and it all led to a secret he was carrying the entire time, a proposal he was planning long before he ever said a word about it. Travis Kelce did not simply get swept up in dating the biggest pop star in the world. He earned it. One bold, honest, consistent step at a time, and the wedding at Madison Square Garden was simply the final chapter of a campaign he had been quietly running since the moment a friendship bracelet never made it into her hands. What makes the whole story so satisfying looking back on it now is how little of it was ever really strategic in the traditional sense. Travis did not study some playbook for winning over a global superstar. He simply kept doing the one thing that seemed to work from the very beginning, being honest about how he felt in public, even when it was awkward, even when there was a real chance she would never respond at all. Every step after that first embarrassing confession was really just more of the same thing, applied again and again, at bigger and bigger moments, until eventually it led all the way to a wedding at the most famous arena in the country. Sometimes the biggest, most improbable love stories really are that simple. Say how you feel, show up when it matters, and let the rest take care of itself. A tight end from Kansas City did exactly that. One small, honest, unmistakably genuine step at a time, and somehow ended up married to the single biggest star in the entire world. And that, in the end, is the entire story. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.